you Hi there. Good evening. Hi, weeping, my dear. How are you doing? Oh. Oh, hello there. Hi, Mako. It's nice to see you. Let me give you a shout out as well. Me, one moment. I hope you all are having a wonderful evening, or day, or morning. It's been a while. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Velvet Valentine. I'm here to play some visual novels. And what visual novel game, you're thinking? Well, it's a continuation of Cage of Roses. Yes, another Yuri game. Right up our alley. Looks like the last time I've seen you, possibly on Valentine's Day. So I'm glad to be back. Let's play our game, shall we? Alright, let me adjust myself here. Now, I don't remember much because I wasn't the one who continued this game or played the game to begin with. Well, hello. Hello, my dear. Hi, Martini. How are you doing today? It's nice to see you. I know the cooldown on shoutouts is on, so let me give you another form of shoutout. Have we ever met, Martini? Oh. Hello there, Sal. It's been a while. How are you? Now give me a moment. You all are doing this so quickly. I have to make sure I do the proper greeting. Oh, Ulu. It's been a while, hasn't it? I have met the siblings and Emmy, but it is my first time meeting you, Velvet. Oh, wow. I know all about you, Martini. I've heard wonderful things about you. The name's Velvet. Velvet Valentine. Sleepy but good? Thank you for the shouting. Of course. It's Seo after all. You've been here for the longest time. So thank you for stopping by, and it's so rare to see you talk. It really is. It warms my heart. Oh, it's you today. Yes. Yes, it is, Ulu. Is there a problem? You sound so disappointed. Do you? Is this the critically acclaimed game, Castlevania? Possibly. Hello there, our favorite ghostie. Actually, we have two favorite ghosties today. Both of you are my favorite. Let me give you a shout out as well. Oh, is this Kohi? Kohi-chan, is this you? Long time no see. I'm glad you have found your way in. And of course, I'm not Jin's, but I do know about you, Kohi. No problem at all? Are you sure about that? Are you sure? Well, thank you for coming to my Valentine's Day stream, by the way, Ulu. And Neniki, of course. I think the last time we've seen each other is in February, so it's definitely been a while. Ghosts where? Well, we have Seo, of course. Seo-matic. How can you be afraid of your fellow ghost, Neniki? You silly one, you. Yes, it's me. Yes, it's you, cutie pie. It's you, Kohi. Kohi-chan. Very nice to see you. Valentine's? That was so long ago. Indeed, it has. Have you missed me? It's been so long. Oh my, so long. I've been debating if I wanted to do an ASMR stream, continue reading The Hobbit, or we can continue to play Cage of Roses. But I guess I wanted to play Cage of Roses. The dark colors just suits the theme so well. I'm a coffee ghost. Yes, you are. Oh, we have 3 ghosts here. 3. Do you hear that, Neniki? Are you quaking? Yes, you are a cutie pie. Who would be afraid of you, Kohi-chan? Well, it's going to be a lot of reading today, so make sure I stay hydrated. Will you please? Yes, course. I miss you too, Ulu. Alright, but before we start, I would like to drink some water. And I hope you all have hydrated yourselves as well. Sorry for the squeaking. Can't really control it, you know. I can be scary, really. Can you? Well, thank you for the stretch and hydrate. I just did. Thank you, Weekbee, my dear. It is late for you, is it now? Dehydrating right now? Now, why would you do that? Weeping, please. Are you trying to flirt with me? Now, I don't want to squeak the life out of you. I don't want to hurt you after all. Your life is more precious than mine. I have 1 liter of water. Oh, good job, Kohi-chan. Look at you. Now, Weeping, we must not show that we are Maso, do we? Weeping? I break character, it's your fault. Anyway, shall we continue Cage of Roses tonight? And if you don't know too much about this game, let's just say we were almost killed by robbers, bandits, someone that wanted money. We were saved, however, by a vampire. Perhaps we don't know too much about her yet. Hi, Eggers. Nice to see you as well. Let me give you a shout out. I'm definitely going to break character. Aren't you live right now, Eggers? Are you streaming? At least I thought you were. Kohi-chan, you're so adorable. Of course. Sure. Alright. So, I think in this game, it was last played by Choco and her friend. So, I don't know too much other than continuing the game now. And also the fact that we are at the mercy of a vampire. Would you believe that? Now, without further ado, let me know if my audio is doing good. If something is abnormal, don't hesitate to let me know, alright? So we're on Act 1 still. We haven't finished yet. At least this room had a bed. A 4-poster one, no less, like the one at Meike's home, with a mattress and sheets upon which Miki could rest her weary limbs. The bedchamber had a wardrobe too, though Miki possessed nothing to store in it save for the tattered clothes upon her own back. There was a writing desk upon which lay a basin for washing, and a chamber pot for more delicate business beneath. This pot was, thankfully, far cleaner than the one Miki had found in the dungeon. So white and spotless she imagined it unused. The desk faced a large window, which was currently obscured by a set of dark blue curtains. Miki could not see beyond this window, though she doubted she would have been afforded much of a view even if she had drawn the curtains back. It was very late, after all. It was not as cold in his room as it was in the underground cells, but it wasn't warm either. The wind crept in through fine cracks in the aged windows to toy with the reddish-orange flames of the 2 lit candles. To toy, too, with Miki's hair and the hem of her dress. She shivered. "Do you not have a tongue in your head?" Magdalena needled Miki, who had yet to speak. "Don't tell me that you've come all shy. I brought you to this room solely so that you might sleep. I have no wicked designs on your innocence, regardless of how pretty you are. I only want your blood, not your body." "I beg your pardon?" Miki blinked at Magdalena, uncomprehending. "What designs are you speaking of?" "You cannot tell?" "I'm sure I've no idea." "None whatsoever?" "None at all. I'm wholly ignorant of such affairs." "Goodness me!" Magdalena rolled her red eyes upwards to the ceiling, which seemed to sag beneath its own weight. "I can't tell whether you are being dense on purpose, or whether you really are that innocent. Did your mother never teach you what men and women do in chambers such as this?" "My mother did not, no. She thought such topics beneath her. That was my governess's job, although I don't think I would care to do much of anything in a chamber like this one. It smells like the grave. Sleep?" "They do more than sleep, Ulu." "Tut tut. You're being rather rude about my home, you know. Here I am trying to be a good hostess, and you throw my kindness back in my face?" "I know you do not like your home much, either. You told me." "Touché. I did try to pick out one of the pleasanter rooms for you, but there are so very many of them, it is difficult to keep abreast of them all. I rarely have visitors over, and when I do, they all get thrown into the dungeon. There seemed little point, therefore, in keeping these rooms spick and span. I hope you can forgive all the dust and the general disuse." "Oh, I've more to take issue with that than that." "Yes, I suppose you do. You must have quite the bone to pick with me." "Maybe I do, but not right now. I'm too tired." "Yes, you do look it. Your face is frightfully pale. I think a good night's sleep is what the doctor ordered, provided you are able to rest, that is." "That would be nice, but..." Miki let her fingers trail along the brocaded covers of the bed, her expression pensive. "What did you mean earlier when you said you've no designs on my innocence?" "Dear me, I thought that you were joking. But I can see that you're in no fit state for it." "I don't tell jokes. I've little to laugh about." "And you have even less to laugh about now, you poor dear." Magdalena cleared her throat. "I meant only to say that I would not do unto you as a man might, regardless of our surroundings. I've no nefarious intentions, of that you can be assured." Miki thought of her governess's explanation of sex, and of Walter's expectations come their wedding night, and flushed. If the sudden rush of blood beneath her cheeks enticed Magdalena in any way, she did not show it, though her fingers did twitch in their tight, constricting gloves. "I don't understand." "I know what men and women do behind closed doors, but how could two women set about something similar? It's not possible." You think so? I know so. My governess explained everything to me in great detail. When one wishes to make a baby, well, two women cannot do that. There would be no sense to it. And you think people ought to do things only because they make sense? That is quite narrow-minded. But people are often uneducated in such affairs, both in my time and your own. In some ways, the world has changed a great deal, yet in others... Well, never mind. I can see I'm only confusing you. You're so very innocent. It hurts. Perhaps it is to be expected, though. Ladies ought not to know of such things. They are born and bred to be ignorant. What? Meike had not understood the full implications of Magdalena's previous lament, but she understood well enough what she meant by this. Why would you call me that? I already told you I'm not a lady. I am Lady Henrique's faithful servant. Yes, you did say. And that's true. She is the lady, not I. You did labor that point quite intensely, yes, back in the cells. You were so fervent about it. You almost had me fooled. Hi, Shrimply. You've seen me before, I think. Have we met before, Shrimply? I feel like we have, definitely. Right? Pardon me. How are you doing, Shrimply? I hope you're doing fine and good. At least you would have, if you weren't such a terrible actress. What? Oh, don't what me. It's quite tiresome. Did you think I'd fail to notice all of your fancy turns of phrase? Your vocabulary is that of a well-to-do young madame. Not a maid, not even a lady's maid. You wear that sumptuous dress of yours easily, dirty though it is, and your bearing is definitely regal. You can never hope to pass as a common servant girl, not in the month of Sundays. I'm not stupid. Then, Meike sat down on the bed, which creaked beneath her. As if in warning, her palms were pressed to the mattress to support her weight, which all of a sudden felt excessive, and her heart was pounding like a drum. Which one are we kissing? Well, the vampire and the fair maiden? We're Meike right now. Might get a little smooch from the vampire, Magdalena herself. Maybe though. I feel like I remember besides that I'm doing quite alright. Hope you are doing mighty fine yourself. I sure am. Thank you, Shrimply. Maybe you missed me the several times I've gotten a chance to stream? You knew I was lying from the very beginning? Indeed I did. It was very obvious. I can tell you have no practice in deceit. Meike, you're much too sweet for it. But if you knew I was lying, why did you agree to let Henny go? Her Geralt wouldn't lift a finger to aid Henny if she disappeared, but he will surely come look for me. Her Geralt? Is that the name of your fiancé? Yes, it is. And you don't refer to him by his Christian name? That is... Dear me, you mustn't be very close to the man. Why, you make him sound like a stranger. Do you truly wish to marry him? I hadn't any choice. My parents... Ah, yes, it was silly of me to ask. That is how it always goes, isn't it? And what of your fiancé? Hello there, sexy. It's very nice seeing you. How are you doing, my dear? I hope you're well. Does he know you well enough to try and rescue you? I think he might. Mike swallowed, tasting dust on her tongue. He's an important businessman. He takes exciting care over his investments, or so I've heard. I imagine it would be the same for me, too. I am Von Essen, after all. There would be a lot of prestige in wedding me. Tried one of the kink tests. It wasn't very good. It tested only a few things. Oh. I see. Well, I feel like everybody was using the same test. But who knows? Also, she has pointy ears. Don't trust her. Well, Shrimply, she is a vampire. Yes. Stopping by to say have a good stream? Thank you, Chonky. Thank you so much. It's very great to see you. The art in this game is so pretty. I agree. It's gorgeous. So gorgeous. Your art is also very gorgeous. Kohi-chan? Vampire or not, I don't trust people who can stab me with their ears alone. You think her ears are pointy and it hurts? I don't think it'll hurt you, but if you mess with her, perhaps you might get more than a prick. Hello there, Godzilla, my dear. It's great to see you. As long as they aren't an elf, you can trust pointed ears. What do you have against elves, Ulu? Why not, Kohi-chan? Why not? You're so animated. You're adorable. So, that is how he regards you, as a profitable purchase? I cannot say, after all, I hardly know him, and therefore cannot judge how he sees you. Does that sum it up? It is. Not entirely inaccurate, no. What a woeful state of affairs this is. It sounds like you would be wretched whether you were in my home or out of it, particularly if the latter would entail being by this Hergeralt side. Perhaps I did you a favor by bringing you here. Love is the strongest weapon. Indeed. Indeed. What, Ulu? You want to be a profitable purchase? What do you mean by that? You are not to be purchased. You are valuable. Something money cannot buy. Thank you, Godzilla. Thank you so much for the sub. Your support means everything to us. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. Now, Mako. What is this? Mike did not reply to this. She did not want to give Magdalena the satisfaction. Well, never mind all that. Your fiancé can try to look for you, if he likes. I do not care. I doubt he would be able to best me. But you said you wished to avoid all that. Did I really? Yes, you did. That's why you proposed letting me go. Oh, yes, good memory. It will seem that the cold hasn't eaten away at all of your faculties. Not just yet, at least. As for why I changed my mind, well, that needn't concern you. But this is about me. Surely it must concern me. Oh, there was no real reason behind it. It was nothing more than an act of whimsy on my behalf. If you truly want to know why I went along with your chicanery, then... Let us say that I felt touched when you offered to throw your life away for the sake of your maid. Few mistresses would be capable of such compassion. It was truly remarkable. I didn't want your efforts to be in vain, that's all. And you are prepared to put yourself in danger for that? I won't be in any danger. I'm a vampire. I can shatter rib cages with a single touch. Or thereabouts, at least. Now, you really must get some sleep. It will be much better for you than asking all of these silly questions. I've nothing to change into. What will I sleep in? I considered as much, and took the liberty of stocking these drawers with some of my own clothes before I fetched you. You should find that they fit, more or less, and they're clean, which is more than can be said for the rest of the linens in this place. There are books on the shelves too, which you may read, and I drew a basin of water for you to wash yourself in upon waking. Wow, Magdalena, you're such a good host. You could find no better amenities in any inn. I do hope you have a pleasant night and sweet dreams. Magdalena smiled sardonically, then dropped Meike another curtsy. She is rich. She cares about nighttime clothes. Indeed, she has fashion sense, and we love that. We love a queen, don't we? Just try not to breathe in through your nose if the smell bothers you. I wouldn't want you to spend the night coughing. A fair lady such as you needs her sleep. Laughing to herself, Magdalena straightened, then turned. She departed, her long cloak trailing against the age-spotted carpet, and shut the door behind her. Meike waited until she heard Magdalena's footsteps fade, then rose once more to her feet. She crossed the room, her legs trembling, and seized the doorknobs between her fingers, but it stubbornly refused to budge. The door was locked. Well, of course it is. What did I expect? Defeated, Meike returned to the bed. Weary from all that had happened, she collapsed upon it, her loose hair strewn in spirals across the sheets. Meike stared up at the ceiling, which was drenched in darkness, and softly muttered, "What am I going to do now?" Meike's question, of course, fell upon deaf ears. There was nobody to hear her. She was all alone. Meike tossed and turned uneasily that night, in a bed which smelt of disuse and decay. The bed was more comfortable than the cell in which she had been held, but it was almost as cold, its thin sheets eaten away by old age and insects. At least the dungeon, with its sole wooden cot and its solidarity window, was supposed to be inhospitable. This bedroom, meanwhile, was a different matter. It was richly furnished, but all of its decorations had since been ravaged by time's unrepentant advances. The men and women who must have stayed in this room once, more than a century ago, would surely be dead now. In that sense, the room felt akin to a crypt. Did that make the bed a sarcophagus? Mike a corpse? Magdalena had spared Mike's life for the present, but Mike doubted that she would be so fortunate in the future. Magdalena was not. Mike reminded herself, a human, but a vampire. She meant to suck Mike of her blood, and when she did, Mike would lose her life, just as this room's previous inhabitants surely had. Magdalena's home was so decrepit. Oh my. It seemed unfathomable that life could flourish within its walls. Surely English is such a hard language to master. It was not so very different, really, from the Von Essent mausoleum. The air even smelt the same. It smelt of death. No matter how Mike tried, she could not get comfortable. All the while she tried to sleep, she heard the wind blowing outside, howling outside, creeping stealthily like black-clothed thieves through the cracks in the glass panes. Mike's bare toes curled against the mattress. Anxiously, she shuddered. What was to become of her now? Act 2. Dust and Decay. While Mike began to drift off into an uneasy slumber, Henny was busy cutting her own way through the dense, sprawling forest. Magdalena had been as good as her word, and she had indeed set Henny free, a concession that Henny hadn't expected from her. Monsters weren't known for their amenability, nor for their sincerity. How are you doing, Godzilla? Are you getting a chance to relax? Henny had believed, when Magdalena had dragged her bodily from that cold, hateful prison, that she will put to death, torn apart like the bandits in the forest had been. Hello there, Ra. It's very nice to see you. What kind of monster? Well, a vampire, of course. Hello there, Ra. My name's Velvet Valentine. It's nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. And everyone that Choco knows, I know. Penny's heart had hammered in her chest with each step through those subterranean cells, and inwardly she had cursed Magdalena's name. Indy? Getting sleepy listening to this? Oh, thank you, Ulu. Well, I wasn't planning to do ASMR, but... Oh, sweet doll. Silly one. How are you today? How are you, Echo, my sweet doll? It's nice to see you. Who could it be coming in like a wrecking ball, Starting this week, I'm only working one job for now. That's wonderful. I'm glad you are taking care of yourself. You're good? That's so good to hear. So happy to see you. It's been a while, hasn't it? Little Echo here is the one who named me Velvet Valentine. It It is late, so I'll be lurking while I do some work. No worries, Rob. You are welcome to stay as long as you like. Your lurk and your support means everything, even for a second. I hope you get some work done, smoothly and nicely. She had thought of demanding that the vampire let her go, but common sense had told her any act of resistance would be in vain. Magdalena would not listen to her. Why would she, when Henny was but a human woman, and in short, dowdy, one of unprepossessing, possessing features. Besides, you do like the ambiance. I do agree. Henny had been prepared to die for Mike's sake, but she hadn't wanted to die needlessly while Mike suffered still. Fear had dodged her, sewn beneath her skin like 1,000 needles. But in the end, Magdalena had surprised Henny. She had, after all, led Henny through her large, dust-covered entrance hall and out to the front door. Well, Magdalena had addressed Henny thus, one eyebrow raised, as she pushed the door ajar. Are you going to leave like your silly, sentimental mistress wanted you to? Or would you prefer to stand there looking stupid? What? You knew that Miki is my mistress all this time? Of course I did. Do you take me for a fool? I wasn't born yesterday. Deception isn't very hard to sniff out once one has been alive for as long as I, and your mistress's attempts at subterfuge were laughably poor. Oh, I thought the same myself. Miki always loses when we play card games. She's awful at them, really, but... Goodness! If you already knew that Miki is my mistress and I am the maid, why are you letting me go and not her? Well, why not? I can do as I please. This is my home, and I am free to decide who I allow to stay here. I have returned from getting my coffee. Welcome back. Come back, Kohi-chan. Because they can. That's right, because a queen can. Off with her head. Now, she is a sweet woman. We don't want to hurt her. Indeed. Right, Godzilla, right. It is, yes, but... Enough. It is not your place to question my decisions, human. You must remember to respect your elders and your betters. I have decided to let you go out of the goodness of my heart. I release you from your cell, and now I have even brought you to my front door. But still, you will not go. Do you like it here so very much? Please don't tell me that you have a death wish. That would undermine all your poor mistress's ploys. If you truly loved her, you would not let her noble sacrifice go to waste now, would you? You... Henny had grit her teeth together as she regarded Magdalena, stung by her words. Magdalena was not so very tall, nor so very imposing, but her supreme self-confidence was unsettling, as was the latent malice which lurked beneath her pristine smile. Right, Echo? Had Henny not seen what Magdalena was capable of in the woods, she would not have known to fear her. Henny had seen what Magdalena could do, however, and it unsettled her. The bandits' screams and their severed limbs would not leave her, daubed against her eyelids, just as their blood has been splashed, red and streaky, across the forest floor. Henny had known that she could not fight against Magdalena, and neither could she argue with her. It had been abundantly plain, much as the nose upon Henny's own face, that she would not let her Mike go. She had already made up her mind. All right then, I'll leave. If that's what you're after, I won't forget you. I won't forget you, though, Magdalena. I won't forget what you done to me, or to Mike, and I won't forget that you're still holding her captive. I'll come back, I swear on my ma's life, and I won't leave without Mike. Really now, that is quite the declaration. I suppose I shall look forward to seeing you again then, Lady Henrique. It gets so lonely here, living in this desolate old pile, and I do love entertaining guests. I will be sure to save a place for you at my tea table, ensuring that you are able to make it out of the forest in one piece, of course. It is awfully dark out there, and look at all the fog. I don't much fancy your chances, but what do I know? You might be more durable than you look. And he had not dignified this teasing retort with an answer. Instead, she had turned, trying to assume as much dignity as she could, which, given her life spent serving the VODS and family, was more than one might have assumed, and marched off with her head held high. If her shoulders have trembled when she entered the forest, it had not been too apparent. You need a jester by chance too? I'm here too. Yes, the best jester in town. Yes, I'll be sure to hire you, Miha. Now, free from Magdalena's clutches, Henny continued to pick her way through the woods. Henny thought of Magdalena and of Mike and how her poor mistress must have been faring as she trudged outwards. Her thoughts strayed too, on occasions, to her own safety and whether she would really be able to emerge from the woods unscathed. But whenever she began to doubt herself, she bit the inside of her cheek in self-rebuke. It was not, Henny told herself, a case of if she would escape from the woods, but when. Henny knew that if she succumbed either to wild animals or to the icy air, Mike's fate would be sealed. Mike was relying upon her, which meant she had to keep going. There was nothing else for it but to keep putting one foot after the other, no matter how many times it took. And he continued to walk, her dark eyes focused on the uneven path ahead. It was very dark in the forest, and the moon did little to light her way. The trees were dense, their foliage vast, and only a few slivers of milky light could penetrate their bower. The wind blew cold and sharp, further teasing Henny's dark hair into disarray. Her dress, which was stained and dirty from the night's exertions, fluttered about her legs. Back then, Henny had thought of only escaping from the bandits. She had squeezed Mike's hand tightly in her own, and had pulled her along as a child might a beloved toy, careless of which direction they had been fleeing. Henny hadn't known where they were going. She hadn't much cared either. She had only wanted to save herself, and her mistress too. Now, Henny walked at a more regular pace. Her limbs were too weary to run. By God, her legs felt like lead, and she felt the need to preserve her strength. The hours passed by in a blur, unbeknownst to Henny, who had no timepiece as she walked. She did not know where Augsburg was, or if she had been moving in the right direction. She could have been doubling back upon herself for all she knew. It did not seem to matter very much. Penny was no stranger to physical labor, but she had been walking for such a time her soles were beginning to blister. Each step induced new, exquisite agonies within her, which made her gasp. Her bones seemed to scrape together, and a canker on her ankle burst, filling her shoe with pus. All the while, the cool wind tugged at her hair, nipped at her cheeks, whipped her skirts about her thighs. Penny heard, or thought she hear, a faint howling in the distance, like that of a stalking wolves. Agonizing seized her, an agitation so great she could not quell it even by biting the inside of her cheek. Her mouth filled with blood, her tongue tingling with its coppery tang as she hurried on. She moved between the trees, fitfully aware of the howling, which no longer sounded as distant as once it had. It was growing louder and louder, rattling about inside her skull like a stone, until... "Oh!" Penny exclaimed, surprised, as she burst through a course of thickly packed trees and out onto a mud path. She had emerged, at long last, onto a road, one of many which twined through the tall trees of the forest. There, not so far away, she could see the source of the noise which she had heard. It was not a pack of angry wolves after all, but a carriage drawn by two thin, hungry-looking horses. Hardly able to believe her luck, Penny dashed to the carriage, then cried out breathlessly to the coachman seated upon it. "Wait, oh please wait! Will you not stop for me? I am in dire need of help. I need to go to Oxford immediately before it's too late. It's very, very important, I swear, good sirs. My poor mistress's life is in danger, and I'm the only one who can save her. If you don't help me, I fear she must die." Mike felt disoriented when she awoke the following day, in an unfamiliar bed which smelt of something spoiled. It took Mike a few moments to become fully cognizant of her surroundings. She had slept little the night prior, and her head ached, her eyes pulsing in their sockets like molten steel. Groggily, Mike pressed the heel of her palm to her eyes and rubbed them. Then she looked around in earnest, but soon found herself confused. The bedroom Mike found herself in was so unlike anything she had seen before that she initially wondered whether she was still dreaming. She pinched the inside of her arm in the hopes that the room would shift like water, but it remained immutable. She must have been awake then. A woman? Yes. This game is all about women, my dear. The pain made this irrefutable, even if the chill was assailed her did not. Mike had faint recollections of running through the forest last night. Her parents had both been stabbed in their carriage, or so Henny had told her, but these memories remained a blur. Mike could not recall her parents' final moments, but she could remember awakening in the dungeons of an unfamiliar abode, governed by an unfamiliar woman. This woman, who had introduced herself as Magdalena, had claimed to be a vampire, and now Mike was her prisoner. The bedroom Mike found herself in seemed more miserable in the daylight than it had last night, obscured by a veil of darkness. It was more dilapidated than the servants' quarters at Mike's home, and had most assuredly seen less use. The furniture, though luxurious, was scuffed, the carpet threadbare, the basin upon the bedside table covered in hairline cracks. Dust covered every conceivable surface, and spiders had made their homes in the corners of the room. their gossamer webs outstretched like grasping fingers. The air was so stagnant, Mike felt compelled to open one of the windows, but her attempts were in vain. The windows were locked, and she could find no key to aid her. Perturbed, Mike slumped down at the desk by the window, then stared through the stained, smeary glass. Magdalena's garden sprawled out before her in a dense, twisted tangle. Perhaps there had been flower beds in this garden once, neatly planted, and an apple orchard, and any number of other arboreal delights, but age had spoiled it all. Mike was no gardener, but she could deduce at a glance that Magdalena's garden had been unloved for years. Beyond the walls of Magdalena's garden was the forest, all tall, imposing trees not so dissimilar from the proud oak which guarded the VODS family mausoleum. The trees emerged from the fog, their boughs raised towards the sky, festooned in darkly verdant leaves. There were so many trees that Mike couldn't see very far beyond them. There is an ad incoming, just to let you know. Please be aware if you're relaxing. Perhaps there wasn't much to see at all out here, other than nature. The rest of the world seemed very distant indeed. Mike herself might have been a figure from a fairy tale, a languishing maiden trapped inside a tower by a wicked witch, unable to escape. Are you liking the story so far, Godzilla? The sun hung above the treetops, suspended, half hidden by clouds. Its rays were weak, and did little to dispel the cold which pervaded inside Mike's bedroom. Looking out the window made Mike feel more trapped than lying in her bed had. At least in her bed, she could imagine that someone or somebody might come and rescue her. Seeing the dense trees which surrounded Magdalena's gardens made these hopes feel hopelessly naive. However, who would dare venture all the way into the woods in the hopes of finding her? Walter might have well sent out a search party, but he would have no idea where to begin searching, and Mike wasn't certain if she much wanted Walter to find her either. She will languish inside Magdalena's home, wasting away like the flaking paint upon the walls until... Oh! Mike's dreary thoughts were soon interrupted by the discontented rumblings of her stomach. All of a sudden, she recalled that she had not eaten very much the night prior, or drunk very much for that matter. Her throat was parched. It seemed almost heartless to experience such base desires after her parents' death, but Mike's body knew little of propriety. All it cared of was its own immediate comfort. Fortunately, Mike did not have to search for long to find a means of alleviating her hunger pangs. Somebody, Magdalena, presumably, had left a tray on her bedside table which bore a plate of scones, a teapot, and a saucer. Mike soon discovered that the teapot was still warm, a few distinct ribbons of steam unspooling still from its spout. Magdalena must have entered her bedroom less than a half an hour prior, while Mike had been asleep, to set her breakfast down. The scones, meanwhile, seemed plain, but they would be nutritious enough. Mike was surprised that Magdalena kept any food at all in her home, given the curious nature of her diet. As a vampire, does she not sup only upon blood? Where had Magdalena procured these scones? Had she made them herself for Mike's sake? The thought of her vampiric host laboring in the kitchen, her sleeves rolled up like those of a common drudge, was an amusing one. It was almost enough to make Mike smile. Wedged underneath the teapot was a note, which Mike extricated. She smoothed the note out, then examined it. The note was a perfunctory one written in an elegant, swooping cursive. It said, quite simply, eat up and get your strength back. You'll need it. Also, welcome back from the ads. Thank you for your patience. I know it's been so hard dealing with that. Nobody had signed the note, but Mike was sure it was from her mysterious hostess. Mike wondered whether the note had been intended as a friendly gesture or a threat. Perhaps it was a mixture of both. Mike was unsure how to feel about it, but she supposed it was nice that Magdalena had gone to the effort to care for her. Tea and scones were better than bread and water. Magdalena might not be so bad after all. For a bloodthirsty vampire that was, who meant one day to murder her. Mike brought the rim of her teacup to her lips and sipped at the amber liquid within. Well, what's the catchphrase, Mako? You know it. She had half expected it to taste astringent, of sharp, tangy iron, and of blood. But she soon found it was quite inoffensive. Is that Joe, with the six-pack? Oh my goodness. We're murdering? No, no, no. We're not. We're not, sweet doll. We just awoke and had our breakfast, or is having breakfast, as our nice vampire host was nice enough to provide us with breakfast and some tea. Maybe it's a some? Mige took another sip of the tea, and then another. Though she had meant to be cautious, what if the tea was laced with something? Her thirst soon got the better of her. She drank the whole cup in half a minute. Setting the cup back down on the saucer, Mike then turned her attention upon the scones. She ate delicately, taking care not to drop any crumbs upon her lap or the floor. Though why did it matter, really, when the carpet beneath her was so worn? A few crumbs would hardly spoil this bedroom more than time already had. In fact, they might serve to make the room more homey. But then again, perhaps not. It would have been a tall order to breathe even a modicum of life into this room. Mike doubted even Dr. Frankenstein himself could have managed such a feat, despite the cadavers he had stitched together and raised from the dead. Mike was so cold, even with the tea on her tongue. She was starting to feel distinctly cadaverous herself. Hello there, Gore. Thank you so much for the lurk. It's very nice to see you. Hope you are taking care of yourself and having a wonderful night. She finished her breakfast, then looked about her room once more, unsettled. Surely she cannot stay there, motionless, waiting for Magdalena to stop by and slaughter her. There had to be something she could do to escape her predicament. Mige rose to her feet, buoyed by sudden, nervous energy, and padded, barefoot, over to the door. She grasped the door handle and tried to turn it, but in vain. The door was locked, and it was stubbornly refused to shift. Mike had expected as much, and wasn't particularly surprised. Slipping out through the door would have been too easy. Next, Mike turned to the window, but her hopes of escaping via the window had already been dashed. Mike knew already the window was locked, and even if she had been able to open it, it was too high for her to escape from. Mike stood by the desk and peered, eyes narrowed, through the dirty glass. Magdalena's garden seemed a very long way down, blanketed though it was by the fog. Mike didn't much fancy the thought of smashing the glass, and she fancied even less the thought of jumping to her almost inevitable doom. Even if she didn't break her spine, it seemed likely she would break an arm or a leg, or both. It did not seem like escape was an option, though she had, of course, known that already. Magdalena would not have been that careless. Mike sighed, defeated, and took a seat once more upon the bed. It groaned beneath her, as though in pain, sounding rather like it wanted to be put out of its misery. Mike could hardly blame it, given how very old it must have been. She felt distinctly miserable herself, though there was one silver lining, she supposed, to her captivity. At least Henny was all right. Mike hoped she was all right at least. If she was not, then... But Mike would not allow herself to finish this thought. Henny had to be all right. She simply had to. Otherwise, Mike's sacrifice would have been for nothing. Feeling the need now to distract herself, Mike rose, then shed the nightgown Magdalena had given her. She changed, not into her old dirty dress from the day prior, but into one of the new clean gowns Magdalena had left in her chest of drawers, all neatly pressed frills, which smelt only faintly of mold. Now newly outfitted, Mike paced the room, wondering what she could do. While living with her parents, Mike's mother had often instructed her to work on her embroidery hoop. Lady Von Essen had thought sewing a suitable pastime for a young woman, that or playing the piano. Mike's mother had always thought music too passionate to be appropriate. However, and in any case, Mike had never been very good at the piano. She had been very good at embroidery either. Mike had sewn cornflowers and magpies until her fingers had threatened to fall off, until she had become so thoroughly sick of these repeated patterns she had felt like hurling her hateful embroidery hoop clean through the window. Mike considered herself fortunate indeed that Magdalena hadn't left an embroidery hoop upon her breakfast tray for her. Magdalena might have been a vampire, but at least she wasn't that cruel. Mike has stitched enough hateful curlicues to last a lifetime. Though there was no hoop, and thank goodness for that, there were books. Shelves in Mike's new bedroom were full of them, old and dusty, with warm spines and crinkled pages, but quite readable. Mike pursed her spines with the wide, curious eyes of a child, her unfamiliar gown brushing against the unfamiliar floor. Magdalena had told her last night that she might help herself to any of the books upon her shelves, but there were so many of them, it was hard to know where to start. As there was nothing else for her to do, save sit and worry, Mike decided her time would be better occupied reading. She reached out for a promising book among Magdalena's collection, The Monk by Lewis. She settled herself down upon her bed, among thin covers, then opened the yellowing pages of the old tome. The pages within a leather-bound book crackled like autumn leaves, and Mike had to handle it carefully. Lest she tore them, all the wonderful words were still there, however, unblemished by the passing years. Mike shifted, attempting to get as comfortable as she could, in so unfamiliar an environment, then began to read. Mike spent the rest of the day abed, poring through the pages of Lewis the Monk. It was a very gripping story full of lust, murder, and intrigue, featuring a monk so debauched he took Migue's mind off her immediate concerns. Miguel tore through the text, both delighted and disturbed by the twists and turns, though the scenes near the end, which occurred in a dingy dungeon, reminded Miguel a touch too much of her plight to be fully immersive. Miguel skimmed these pages, which detailed the virginal Agnes' suffering, and soon reached a conclusion wherein the wicked monk Ambrosio was tortured for his crime. As Mike read, the sun began to sink outside. Shadows stretched along her bedroom floor, bidding her to light the candle, which rested upon her bedside table. This light was feeble, but it was enough to read by. Mike continued to scan the pages of the text, holding the book close to her nose so as to devour it. So enraptured by Ambrosio's suffering, she did not hear the sound of a key turning in her bedroom door. She did hear the sound of the door creaking open, however, a low, guttural sound which split the silence like a moan. Mike raised her head, disoriented, once more to find herself in Magdalena's home, in the dingy bedroom which Magdalena has prepared for her. Her hostess stood in the doorway, shockingly fair and white in the gloaming, returned, perhaps, to make good on her initial promises. Did she mean to kill Mike at last? Mike had but a scant 10 pages left to read of Ambrosio's ill-fated adventures, yet she feared she would not see how his life would end. Truly, a book-talk girly. She just have her priorities, doesn't she? Her own existence would come to a close before that of a vile monk. Mike supposed she could slip past Magdalena, then make a hasty retreat, but no. She had dawdled for too long. Magdalena had already locked the door behind her, and now surveyed Mike with a detached sort of amusement. Good evening to you. It feels like it's been a while since I last saw you. Did you enjoy the breakfast I brought to you? Oh, yes. Thank you for your kindness. I didn't expect you to be so considerate. You believe that I would let you starve? Magdalena's tittered, her red eyes sharp and knowing. Please, I'm not that cruel. I have even brought more food for you. Look, it has been a while since breakfast, and I thought you might be hungry. Now that Magdalena mentioned it, Mike could see in her hands she held another tray, much like the one she had brought earlier. This tray was laden with another teapot and a teacup, and a plate upon which sat a meat pie, still steaming, and some vegetables. The food smelt surprisingly delicious in the derelict air of Mike's bedroom, and Mike was almost embarrassed at how hungry she was. Why, she was almost salivating. Magdalena lopped over to Mike, the tray in hand, then inclined her head to the bedside. Would you mind moving that? I can't set the tray down otherwise. Oh, right. I'm sorry. Mike moved her breakfast tray onto her lap, to which Magdalena curtsied, playing once more at being a maid. Much obliged, young madame. I'll take that away soon. But first... Magdalena unburdened herself of the dinner tray and observed Mike, one hand resting upon her hip. All right. You in a bit, Gratzella. Are you all right? That seems an odd sort of question, don't you think? Do you believe anybody would be all right? Were they in my shoes? I hope you aren't wearing any shoes. Not in bed. They were filthy when you arrived here, and quite caked in dirt. Thank you, my doll. Don't you worry. You go ahead. It's very nice to see you, though. I didn't mean it literally. I know. I was just teasing. I wish you wouldn't. Why? Are you afraid you might grow to appreciate our little spats? Hardly. I fail to see the need to converse with my captor, that's all. Oh, how fiery you are. I had almost forgotten. You look so very wan, you know. And wary, too. The bags beneath your eyes are terrifying. They're almost black. Did you not get much sleep last night? I tried. I failed. I take it you had a lot on your mind. Yes, indeed. Not that this should come to us as a surprise. Were you thinking about your own fate? That and the fate of my parents' Henny, too. You're still fussing about that silly maid of yours? I have no idea why you care so much. It's most unusual. None of the ladies I knew growing up were half so besotted with their servants. They treated them more like livestock than people. Henny's more than a maid to me. She's... Your friend? Yes, you said. How touching. Now why don't you eat something? You must be hungry. I am, yes, but where did this fruit come from? You would have no need of it, surely. Oh, I have my ways. Magdalena smiled, unknowingly. There are merchants who sometimes travel through these woods, and quite fortuitously I happened to pass by one of them when I went for a walk in the early hours of this morning. This food I procured from them. You did not buy it? I did not need to. I can be very persuasive when I wish to be. It's one of the many perks of being a member of the noble undead. What? Do not tell me that you... slaughtered him? Oh no. I don't kill indiscriminately. I am not a brute, no matter how you might think of me, and my hunger has already been satiated, for the present, by last night's feast. I use nothing so nefarious as my powers of flattering. It is not so hard, you know, to bend men to your will, not when you smile at them and you remember to bat your eyelashes. I had to prepare enough food to keep you going for a few days in a knapsack, plus some eggs and flour. The basic amenities. Then bade him a fond farewell. You shall recall our meeting as little more than a dream. Does that satiate your curiosity? For the moment, I suppose. Good. You have such a lot of questions, Mike. Not that I mind them. It's nice to meet a woman so inquisitive. Now do eat up. I am sure your dear Henny would not want you starving yourself. Mike did not much like the thought of eating in front of Magdalena, but she supposed her captor had a point. It was foolish to go without sustenance, especially when it smelled so tantalizing. Mike set her dinner tray upon her lap, then began to eat. She dug into the meat pile with her knife and fork, which were darkly tarnished. Mike feared that the cutlery would somehow contaminate her food, but she was too hungry to fret overly long about this possibility. Mike popped a piece of meat into her mouth and chewed, and as she did, Magdalena watched. Magdalena's red eyes were wide, as though she was observing something very interesting, an exotic animal in a cage, perhaps, or a reaction between two volatile chemicals. Mike did not think the act of her eating was so very special, but it must have been different to Magdalena. As a vampire, Magdalena had no need to partake in meat pies or vegetables. Was that why the simple act of Mike eating enticed her so? As Mike ate, horribly self-conscious of Magdalena's stare, what if she were to drop any food on her front? The vampire began to talk. It's been a long time since I was able to observe one of your kind going about your day-to-day life. On the rare occasions I am able to witness you, you are always in pain, screaming and crying and begging for your lives. That is rather entertaining in its own right, but sometimes I forget you are more than just prey. You have thoughts of your own when they aren't being disturbed by physical discomfort. You eat food, you read books, and you have friends, dreams too. It's hard to believe in now, but once, I wasn't always so different to you. That was a very, very long ago time, though. Very, very long time ago. Mike detected, while sipping her tea, a note of longing in Magdalena's voice. Her hostess's expression was inscrutable, but her ruby eyes were soft, the pale lashes that framed them trembling as though from the force of her own emotions. Had Mike not been afraid of Magdalena, she might have sympathized with her. For a few brief moments, Magdalena appeared, for all the years she had lived, and all of the hurt she had caused, to be a young girl, younger even than Mike herself. Now for the first time, Mike wondered how old Magdalena had been when she had been turned. Her face was so smooth, so devoid of blemishes. She could not have yet been in her 20s. She would have been 18 or 19, if that. It seemed a woefully young age to be consigned to an undying internal life of blood-sucking, which reminded Mike. Aren't you going to bite me yet? You said that you would. Oh. Magdalena blinked, and when she did, the sentimentality which had once pooled in her irises dispersed. Newly amused, the young woman smiled and said, You said that yesterday Cat got my tongue. You said that yesterday too. After I brought you to this chamber. Are you that desperate for me to drain your blood? No, I'm not. Of course I don't want you to drain my blood. I'd really rather you didn't. But if you're gonna do it anyway, I fail to see why you should drag things out for so long. Unless you want to make me squirm. Making you squirm does not sound like too awful a proposition, really. You are quite charming when you are sitting, and even when you are eating. Few women can pull that off, you know, but you manage it. You eat with such a small considered bite, like a fairy. I imagine you would be lovelier still when squirming. Particularly if your face is as red as it is now. Or now, even. Oh my. Our first encounter? Oh, it was a slow burn. Magdalena leant in, grinning wickedly, her sharp incisors on prominent display, and curled her fingers beneath Mike's chin. Their faces were now scant centimeters apart, their noses almost brushing. Mike was suddenly, abashedly aware of her breath, which must have smelt of meat and pastry. Self-conscious, her face burned redder still, like a furnace, as though to entice Magdalena. Her heart hammered so very hard She could feel it at the base of her throat, inside her skull. Could Magdalena hear it too? Why did she feel so unnerved? If she had been only afraid, that would have been understandable, but the sensation which curled in the pit of Mike's stomach seemed compromise of more than that. Her brow began to sweat, as did her palms. Tremulous as a leaf, she found she could not meet Magdalena's gaze. "Yes, you are lovely," Magdalena spoke, her voice appraising as she tipped Mike's head back, her eyes roving not over Mike's face, but the slender column of her neck and the delicate blue veins which crisscrossed it. "I would have no compunctions about sinking my teeth into that throat of yours. Your skin is so very warm. It is as though you were trying to entice me. You look utterly delectable. But I will abstain for now. You are so very lovely, it would seem like a waste, almost to drain you right now. I would prefer to savor your demise like a fine wine. There is little sense in being overly hasty." Well, not yet. Not until they fell in love. Good job on first, Mako. Well done. And in any event, I am not that desperate. I can abstain. I must. A muscle tightened in Magdalena's jaw, and her eyes grew hard, just like two stones. "I have managed for long enough as it is. I would not wish to have all my efforts undone." "What?" Mike blinked at Magdalena, her eyes uncomprehending. "Will you not drink my blood then?" "No, I won't. Not tonight." "Funny reward?" Why do people like this one so much? I don't understand. "Stay still." Silly Mako. "You may rest easy one night more, dear Mike. Your death is still a ways off." "How far exactly?" "That depends." "Upon?" "Oh, I don't know. My own mood, and the movements of the moon, and how long you continue to entertain me, I suppose. I quite like the idea, you see, of having another woman in this castle I can speak to. Perhaps you can tell me about the books you have been reading. When next we meet, I would love to hear your opinions. Though of course there isn't a single book in this castle I've not read at least thrice over myself. There isn't much to do, really, when one has been dead for as long as I have." So saying, Magdalena retrieved the tray from the floor laden with Mike's breakfast things, then straightened. She casted one last, almost longing look at Mike, who shuddered beneath it, her cheeks blushing anew, like the skin of an apple. Before, with what might have been a sigh or a sob, Magdalena turned. "Are we betting the vampire? Like slipping the floop in the goobly goop, as they say?" That is entertaining. Well, who knows? Who knows what will happen? Right, Chonky? Right. Like the Sakab and Buspis. Maybe Mike will slowly have feelings for our fine vampire. She unlocked the door with one hand, the keys dull and matte in the candlelight, then excited, taking the tray with her. Mike passed that night much as she had the previous one, namely by lying abed in the nightgown Magdalena had bequeathed her, trying and failing to sleep. Thoughts of her parents continued to play upon her mind, and of her own fate, and more pressingly even than any of that, of Henny. Mike wanted to believe that Henny at least had been able to escape. She wanted to believe that Henny would continue to live. She would go far from Magdalena's dreary home within the woods, and one day she would meet a nice man, and they would marry, and she would have children. Henny would be happy, while Mike would soon be reduced to a pallid, wizened corpse drained of all its blood. But it was such a fate so different from the one she would be afforded if she had wed Walter. Mike might, in a perverse way, have been better off as Magdalena's captive than she would Walter's bride. At least here in Magdalena's home, she had a bed to herself. It was an aged bed, yes, which creaked beneath her weight, but it was hers. There was no danger of Walter, or anybody else for that matter, joining her. If Mike were to die in this bed, then so be it. She would welcome it. If Henny was all right, then she did not care what happened to herself. Her own life was, and always had been, unimportant. If Mike slept poorly that night, then she was not the only one. Unbeknownst to Mike, Henny was finding it similarly hard to escape into the warm embrace of a sleep. Henny's day had been a busy one, and still she was reeling from it all. Sitting upright in her own bed, Henny found herself turning the events of her own day over in her mind. It had been in the very early hours of the morning that Henny had finally made her way to Oxford, transported there by the kindly merchant she had met during her meanderings in the forest. Henny had thanked the merchant profusely for his help, and had then set about looking for Walter Gerard's home. Henny knew its location well, though she had only been there twice before. It was a large, imposing building, one of the finest in the vicinity, which could have rivaled the VODS home, but it was more modern in construction. It was not the sort of house one could forget in a hurry. The sun had begun to rise in increments as Henny walked through Oxford streets, and it turned a marvelous shade of pinkish red as Henny arrived at Walter Gerard's doorstep. The sunrise was very beautiful, but Henny hadn't been afforded the time to gawp and stare. She had more important matters to attend to. Walter's maids had been beginning to stir when Henny set her knuckles to the door and rapped anxiously, all the while that she would be taken for a beggar and turned away. Henny's clothes, once neatly pressed, had endured quite the battering during her wanders in the woods. Her apron had been torn and flecked with dirt, and the soles of her shoes were encrusted with the stuff. Henny's cheeks and hands had been marred with cuts, and her fingernails had been rendered opaque with mud. She had looked so very grimy. She would not have been at all surprised if Walter's servants had called the bailiffs on her. Her appearance had not been one which inspired confidence, nor invitations inside Walter's spacious drawing room. Henny had fretted that Walter's housekeeper might send her away in disgrace. Despite her fears, however, Henny had refused to move. had been too important that she speak to Walter, that she speak to somebody. She had known, as she stood there, that she needed somebody to listen to her. Henny had knocked and knocked, her knuckles sore against the wood, until she had finally heard the sound of oncoming footsteps. The door had opened, and before Henny stood Walter's housekeeper, a tall, austere woman called Gertrude Schreiber, whom Henny had met twice before. Henny had recognized Gertrude in all her straight blonde hair. For a housekeeper, she was unusually young, but it had taken Gertrude several moments longer to recognize Henny. She had appeared ready to slam the door in Henny's begrimed face, her expression one of revulsion, until Henny called out to her. "Oh, please don't be alarmed. I know what it looks like, but I'm not a beggar. It's me, Henrik, Lady Mike's maid. I've come here on her behalf to let you know there's been an accident, a horrible accident. I need to speak to your master at once. It's very important. Please let me have a word with her and Gerard." Henny's cries for help must have been effusive enough to thaw even Gertrude's icy exterior, but the housekeeper's expression had eventually softened. Gertrude promised in clipped tones that she would allow Henny to speak to her master, but not before she made herself presentable. "I don't care what it is you have been through. You might have been savaged by wolves in the woods for all I care. Whatever it is you have endured, I will not let you see my master like that. It would reflect poorly upon me, as his housekeeper, if I let all the riffraff off the streets, into his home. You will need to bath first, at the very least. And we must do something about your clothes, too. Why, you look as though you have been dragged through a hedge backwards." And he tried to impress upon Gertrude the importance of what it was she had to communicate. "There are things more important than clothes." But Gertrude, being Gertrude, had none of it. Icily unimpressed by Henny's pleas, Gertrude had made it clear that Henny would have a bath, at least before she would be allowed within spitting distance of her master. "This is great privilege, you know. Hot water is a rare commodity. My own girls are not often afforded this luxury. You ought to be grateful." And he was grateful, she supposed, that Gertrude had allowed her into their Gerald's home at all, but she had been less so at her insistence that her news could wait until all the dirt had been scrubbed from between her fingers and toes. Henny had known full well, while she bathed, that Mike could have been languishing in a prison cell, or worse still, being put to death. It had taken almost 2 hours before Gertrude was satisfied by Henny's appearance, at which point the sun had risen and the last vestiges of the night had been swept away. Henny had not been permitted a chance to sleep throughout the night, save for the brief spell where she had been unconscious in Magdalena's cell. Though neater after her bath, her skin washed free of filth and her body shrouded in a clean uniform identical to the one which Walter's serving drudges wore, Henny still felt exhausted to the point of delirium. Henny had been so tired she had feared she would collapse before she was able to properly explain to Walter the dangers his fiancée had found herself in. But Henny had known that she had to try. "My goodness! I'm sorry. Gerald's... might I say... what should I say? He's a little... Yeah, let's save that for another time to talk about. It had been a little after 9 o'clock that Henny had been permitted to enter to Walter Gerard's study, wherein she had found the master of the manor, cleanly shaven and sipping a cup of tea. Walter had seemed surprised to see Henny, and had regarded her initially with some confusion. Goodness me! I did not think when Gertrude said I had a visitor that it would be you. You are Frau Henrik, correct? My Mike's maid? Henny had not liked the way that Walter said my Mike. The wedding had yet to be held, and now perhaps it would be. But she had swallowed her distaste regardless. She had always been trying to tell Mike, after all, that she should be happy at her future wedding to Walter. Walter was a good man, Henny had told herself, a gentleman. Despite his lowly origins, he had been born from nothing, and with a series of shrewd investments, had built himself an empire. He cared for Mike. The possessive manner in which he spoke of her proved it, and he would surely rush to her side once he knew of her plight. That had been Henny's hope, at least, as she stood in Walter's study. Yes, that is right, Herr Gerard. I am Henrik. I am flattered that a great man such as you remember a lowly mate like me. But of course I remember you. We've not been afforded the opportunity to speak, but you and my Mike are as thick as thieves. Thick as thieves, huh? I wonder if he really was the one who planned the murder of Mike's parents and tried to take her life as well. Who knows? We shall see. One can scarcely be seen with the other. In that sense, you're very like a pair of conjoined twins. You could be a modern medieval marvel, almost. Walter had laughed at this, a sound which had seemed rather inappropriate to Henny, after she had endured so many horrors the night prior. Walter had not yet known, of course, about the bandits and the bloody violence they had wrought in Magdalena. But Henny thought he could at least have looked concerned. That his fiancée, who had been supposed to visit him the day prior, was nowhere in evidence. Did he not care that Mike had vanished, seemingly into thin air? Perhaps he had consoled himself, as all men of great import do, that nothing had gone wrong, that nothing could go wrong given his vast riches. He must have reassured himself the night prior that Mike's carriage had been waylaid by some innocent purpose, perhaps a faulty wheel, or a need for new horses. He had not, after all, been worrying of Mike and her welfare. He did not care. Speaking of which, Walter had leant forward in his chair, his laughter ceasing, to examine Henny with a newfound degree of thought. I do not see your twin with you right now. Is my lovely Mike not in your company? About that... Oh, don't tell me she felt sick on the journey here. That would be truly heartbreaking. I hate to think of my dear fiancé convalescing in some miserable inn on the roadside. No, that isn't quite it. You see, then she's not sick. Where the devil is she then? Don't tell me she's having cold feet. Did she send you here, Frau Henrik, to break my heart in her stead? Steed. It seems unlike Mike, her being one of the fairest of her sex, but her parents are having second thoughts. It isn't that either. Lady Mike's not sick, but I'm afraid she might be, and irreversibly so, if you do nothing to save her. Oh, Herr Gerald, it's awful what happened. You hardly believe it. If you see what I've seen, if you knew what I knew, then... Oh... It was horrible. It was simply horrible, like something from a nightmare. We were traveling through the woods. Geralt, the Von Essence and me, your Mike included, when we were set upon by bandits. They stormed the carriage and they demanded. I don't rightly remember, but they asked for all sorts. They asked for jewels, and when that weren't enough, they went for the gold, and when that weren't enough, they took out their blades, and... By Jove. Walter's face, by this point, had turned very pale. All traces of merriment summarily dispersed. They didn't harm my Mike, did they? They meant to, Geralt, but they couldn't finish the job. They made short work of Lord and Lady Von Essen, and their coachman too, the poor bastard. And they didn't get the grubby hands on Lady Mike, I saw to that. I took her hand during the hubbub and led her out into the woods. We ran and ran and ran, but the bandits were fast, and they gained on us. I feared all was lost, but then... But then? Walter leant closer still, almost driving his elbow into his half-drunk cup of Earl Grey as he did so. What happened? Frau Herrick. Surely you and Mike must have survived, else you would not be standing here now, looking shaken, I admit, but in one piece. Please tell me my Mike was all right. That is to say... Penny had thought of nothing save talking to Walter Gerard over since her flight from Magdalena's abode, but at this crucial moment she found herself quite at a loss. How could she tell Walter Geralt of Magdalena? It sounded ridiculous, the sort of tale which could exist only within the pages of Penny Dreadfuls. Welcome back, Godzilla. Welcome back. Dracula was a well-known figure even among the literati, who considered a gothic horror beneath them, but he had no place in polite society. One did not simply discuss vampires out in the open, and oak-paneled studies such as Walter's, not too well-dressed, wealthy man who had made their fortunes in mundane affairs like the railways. And he did not know Walter particularly well, but she could tell from his clothes and his demeanor that he fancied himself a staunch rationalist. It had been immediately obvious that such a man would never hold with vampires. Even Henny herself, being born to a superstitious mother who wore about her neck a lucky rabbit's foot, could scarcely credit what she had seen. It had been blatantly unbelievable. I see you really like the spooters, don't you? She would not have believed it, were she in Walter's position, but she had no choice but to, after all, she had witnessed. She had seen those bandits torn to pieces before her eyes, smelt their blood, and heard their screams. Their deaths had imprinted themselves upon her eyelids like a tableau. She saw it when she blinked, her thoughts steeped in crimson. How could she make Walter see what she had seen? How could she make him understand? And he had feared it would be a tall order, particularly given her limited vocabulary. Mike had always been better at describing things than she, but she had known she had to try, as there was nothing else for it. Penny had forced herself to swallow down her anxiety. It had tasted, strangely enough, of cod liver oil, and began her missive. She told Walter of the mysterious woman who had come to her rescue, who had pulverized the skulls and the spines of the pursuing bandits as a child might crumble crepe paper. She told him of awakening in a darkened cell with only one window, of meeting Magdalena, and of the ultimatum Mike had struck with her. And he had relayed a good deal of information to Walter, and as she had seen him shifting. Hello there, is it Mia? Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. The game is indeed very gorgeous. The art of this game is so beautiful. Have you ever heard of Cage of Roses? It is such a beautiful, beautiful visual novel. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mia. My name's Velvet. Nice to meet you. I haven't, but definitely will look into it. Please do. I do suggest. Walter has examined her, not with fear, as she had hoped, but with something far harder to ascertain. Was it perplexity? Perplexity, perhaps, or worse, pity? And he had known, even before Walter spoke, that it was a lost cause. Convincing Walter of Mike's plight had been her only task, and she had failed. She had not been able to sway him. He had not believed her. That is quite the tale, Frau Herrick. No, it isn't a tale, it's true, I tell you. Every last word of it. Lady Mike has been imprisoned by a vampire, and if I don't act, and quickly, she will be drained of all blood and will soon die? Yes, I did hear. That would be awful indeed, were it were true, but it is true. Gerald, I swear it's true. On my own ma'am's life, I wouldn't tell such a great pack of fibs, not over something so important. I can't imagine that you would, no. I know little of you, but I am aware of your loyalty to my Mike. This man is annoying me so. Very annoying. He doesn't seem trustworthy to me at all. She trusts you with her life, or so I've gathered, more so than she trusts me. She flinches away from all of my caresses, but she isn't half as cold towards your affections. Then surely you must be able to see that I'm being honest. This is a matter of life and death. My lady's very life is at stake. Yes, indeed. I understand. Will you send out a search party then? It isn't too late. Mike's life might still be spared if only you act. I suppose it would be in your best interest to believe that, yes. Dum spiro, and all that. I beg your pardon? Oh, forgive me, my bad habit. It's Latin. Cicero, it means, while I breathe, I hope. As you survive your own ordeal, Frau Herrick, I would behoove you to cling to the belief that the young lady von Essent might still live, but alas, it seems rather unlikely, don't you think, after all you have related. Walter, you hired the bandits to take her life. Isn't this quite obvious? We have seen right now. Terrible, terrible man. Goodness. No, Gerard. What I said is nothing but the truth. You have to believe me. And like I said, I do believe you. About the bandits, at least. Unfortunate though that is, it really is a bloody business I can't accept, however unwillingly, this did indeed come to pass. It is not inconceivable that Lord and Lady Von Essen met their demise, thus vita incerta, mors certissima. I don't know Latin, I'm so sorry. What is that, Gore? Welcome back. As for your talk of vampires, however, this is something I cannot accept. No sensible man could. What you have related would go down very well, I am certain, in the company of writers. They are careless, reckless sort, but it will hold no water with me. You must have hit your head, Frau Henrik, while running from these bandits. That, or your fear has undone you. Not that I blame you. You must have endured a great deal for a member of the fair sex. Why, even most men, I fear, would have gone to pieces. Circumstances being what they were. Your thoughts have been addled. Your delusions. Walter has stressed this word. His fingers stippled together upon his escritoire. About vampires are nothing more than a coping mechanism to soften the reality of the situation. Mike too must have perished. What? No! Good job on first go. Bergerot, please! And he had tried to appeal to Walter's sympathies, but in vain. One look at Walter's countenance, now closed off, had told Henny all that she needed to know. Walter had thought her quite insane. I think a spell of bed rest would do you some good, Frau Henrik. Though you are not one of my servants, I am not so very unkind that I would cast you out onto the streets. You have witnessed horrors I can only guess at, and I'm very sorry for your loss. You may remain here if you wish, for as long as you feel you need to. Get some rest and do try to calm down. I will summon a physician to look over you in the meantime, to see if anything is awry. I suppose I also ought to summon the police once you have the chance to rest, so you might give them an account of what you witnessed in the woods. They will be very interested in the fates of the Lord and Lady Von Essent. And my Mike too. I would advise you against telling them all this marklery about vampires, however. I fear they may be less understanding than I, and you may be hauled to an asylum for your troubles. I would not want you to be incarcerated, Frau Henrik, and I doubt my Mike would want that either. It is a miracle you were able to escape with your life. Do not waste it. Remember, O quam cito transit, gloria mundi. Walter. Oh, Walter. It is uncouth for a lady of your status to consort with these lesser folk. Now, you are dismissed, Gertrude. We'll show you to your new lodgings, if you be so kind. Yes, Bergerot. Right away, sir. Gertrude, who had been standing in one corner of Walter's study, as obstructive as a houseplant, made to escort Henny to the servants' quarters. Henny had cast her gaze back to Walter before she left, her brow furrowed. Walter had begun to sip once more at his breakfast tea, as though he had not a care in the world. The sight of Walter drinking his tea, as if it were any other Monday morning, had filled Henny with a sudden urge to take the teapot and upend its contents all over Walter's officious-looking face. Indeed, me as well. I would like to chuck the teapot at him. But powerful though this urge was, Henny had abstained. What would that accomplish? It would not help Mike. Making an enemy of Walter Geralt would only serve to render Henny homeless, cast out onto the streets, with nowhere else to turn. Begrudgingly, Henny followed Gertrude, the door of Walter's study closing behind her with a thud. Henny had then spent the rest of that day convalescing in bed, in the dingy servants' quarters. Walter was a man of his word, if nothing else, and he had summoned a physician later in the day to look Henny over. This physician gave Henny a brief examination, then declared that she was physically fit, but mentally exhausted. A day or two of bed rest would do her good. She has something of a fever, and she seems distracted. Well, is that why you had me say that, Gore? So you can clip that. The physician's report had been so mild, and he could have laughed in his face. Was it any wonder she seemed distracted when, even now, Mike, her Mike, not Walter's, was in Magdalena's thrall, languishing, in all likelihood, in a dungeon? Content, indeed. Well, thank you for the clip. Henny wished to fly to Mike's side, but could not. She was more exhausted than she had anticipated, and lying down made it more so. Dazed and disoriented, Henny had begun to drift in and out of slumber. Her dreams were broken, yet largely featured Mike, her eyes wide, lips parted in a horrible scream. Henny had slept so much during the day that when night fell, she had found herself unable to rest. Walter's scullery maid, upon arriving in their quarters, had regarded Henny with some surprise. He fell upon her with curious questions, all buzzing excitedly like so many moths drawn to a brightly flickering flame. Thank you, Gore. I hope you have a wonderful night yourself. I'm sure this visual novel would be amazing. Have a good night. Thank you for dropping by. Walter's scullery maid. Oh, I've read that. Silly me. Where are you from? Rose asked. And when did you arrive here? And how long will you be here? Henny had been in no fit state to answer these questions. However, she had been almost relieved when the sour-faced Gertrude came to scold her underlings for their rowdy misconduct. Oh, do leave Frau Henrik alone. She has had a trying series of days by all accounts, and she needs to rest. That is what Herr Geralt has decreed, and I will not have any of you naughty girls disobeying his orders. Now stop with your silly chatter. I doubt Frau Henrik much wants to listen to you, and your friendly overtures are all in vain. She is not one of our servants, and I doubt she will be staying here much longer. Gertrude's stern address seemed to do the trick, for the maids kept a wide berth from Henny throughout the night. They talked among themselves and played cards, and occasionally did they glance to look at her, curious, no doubt, about these trying days Henny had endured. The maids had eventually begun to yawn, and at 10 o'clock they took to their beds, snuffling snores and creaking bed frames soon filling the room. The 6 scullery maids in Walter's employ all slept, but Henny found she could not. Restless and agitated, Henny now found herself standing by the window. Thank you for the hydrate, Ra. I hope your work has been well. Thank you. I needed that. So much reading. It was very fun though. Taking a little break? Sure. Come join us. I'm sure you did very well so far. Suddenly feeling claustrophobic, she unlatched it Then she let her arms rest upon the sill and looked out into the streets. The sky outside was black as pitch and scattered with stars, the moon round and full. The moonlight played against Henny's cheek, turning it paler than it already was, while the cool breeze caressed her hair. One of the maids who slept closest to the window, Agnes, Henny thought her name was, stirred in her sleep, perhaps undisturbed by the open window. Her eyelids, however, did not flutter. Henny afforded the girl only a brief glance before returning her gaze once more to the night sky. Somewhere out there, sequestered away in the woods, was Mike. Wind is rising the May. I've recently heard what that word means. Vocabulary nowadays are so intriguing. Henny was certain that Mike lived still, and that, as surely as Henny was thinking of her friend was thinking of her. "Don't worry, Mike." Henny murmured this under her breath, so as not to wake Walter's scullery maids. Her face turned to the cold. "I've not forgotten you. I never will. I'll find a way to rescue you, with or without Her Gerald's help. You don't need him, not when you have me. You know, I'm starting to think that you might have been right about him." Here Henny allowed herself to smile, though the situation was not all that funny. "He isn't a worthy husband for you, and I don't give a damn that he can speak Latin. There are many, many other qualities I'd rather have in a man. You deserve much better." Wow. That was a lot of reading. Reading, was it? English is hard. So hard. Let me save. Let's overwrite our save real quick. Yes. I'ma go eat. Thanks for the stream. Oh, I have fun watching and lurking. Oh, sexy. It really is a pleasure to have you here. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night, full of sweet dreams. Have a very good night now, and I hope to see you soon. That was indeed a lot of reading, right? 2 hours full. Can you believe that? My goodness. I need to take a break. Hello there, Senpi. How are you? May I give you a shout out as well? It's great to see you. I hope you wasn't too late coming into the stream. Getting a little bit of reading ahead. I'm going to save this twice just in case. Just in case. Alright, let's go back. Let me adjust myself. Alright, you was lurking in and out? Well, thank you so much for that. Your company means a lot. So thank you for supporting. Well, that was a lot of reading. And I hope you all enjoyed a little bit of Cage of Roses. I do enjoy that a little bit. Walter, however, I do not enjoy. He is quite the man, isn't he? My goodness. How does one even handle him? It's too much. Truly, it's too much. Well, for those that don't know about me, let me once again introduce myself before I send you off to another friend of ours. My name is Velvet Valentine. Yes, I am role playing right now, and this is one of the models that I decide to use by Cyblens. If you are very curious, this model is available for purchase actually on their website, and I hope you will be able to check out many of their other models that are available for purchase. Anyone can purchase it. I say that their prices are very, very reasonable. Yes. Yes, Iggers. That's me. I'm Velvet. Well, oh, I'm a little out of breath.
I have an idea. I'll take those eyes of yours. So now, you only have to look at me.
Well, that was vanilla, as you heard. Sometimes I held my breath, or hold my breath when I read, and that is a bad habit, is it? Me too? What? Your eyes? You want your eyes taken? Why so? Well, like I said, Cyblens has a lot of wonderful, wonderful made models. I'm sure you will like one of them. And they are truly beautiful. All the rigging, the layers are very well made. I might as well show you what this outfit looks like. In case if you haven't seen, this is what it looks like in all its glory. We love it, don't we? It is so beautiful. All the little details that they put into it. Amazing, isn't it? Even the gloves are so well thought out. Right. I absolutely love this model so much that I had to buy it, and I thought to roleplay it. I hope you guys enjoy today's stream. Let us see who we can rate next. Let's see who's available. Of course. Thank you for coming by. I really do appreciate it. It has been very fun getting to meet you all. Thank you, Naniki. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Eggers. Who shall we raid? What do you think? Do you all have suggestion for me? Maybe a new friend we should meet? Someone that is right for our vibes and is respectful, of course. Someone that I can trust to send you guys over to. That is an interesting emote. It is the Wriggler, but interesting. Someone who does music? You have someone? Got a funny, friendly dude? Well, let's see the names. I'll choose who to raid. Let's see. Let's see who vibes with us the most, as they say. What's their name? Tell me. Cute Day, Zimakotas, Saya Love. Is Asumi also one? Oh, playing Repo. Let me see. Oh, he has a little panda on top of his head, but what happened to his hair? Oh, Lord. Asumi? Okay, I get it. Alright, think about him. Let me check out the others. Let's see. Oh, they're doing art. Oh, what a lovely model. So cute. Oh, so adorable. And they're doing art. How wonderful. Let me see. Let's see, Saya Love. Is that their name? They're doing ASMR as well. Oh, let's see. Well as in, not that I'm doing ASMR. We're clearly playing a game, but I hope I didn't make you guys fall asleep to my voice. Hopefully not. You have to pay attention to the story. I have to quiz you later. But she does have a very lovely voice and a very pretty model. Really does put me to sleep. Let's see. I'm going to go with... Okay. Today was a dangerous lurk indeed. Well, tell me why it was late dangerous, Eggers. How is it a dangerous lurk? Always a comfy stream. I'm glad you think so. Alright, let's see. Today has already been streaming almost 6 hours. I don't know if they are going to continue or not. Let's see. Mako Taz streaming for 4 hours or so. Saya's been doing ASMR for 2 hours or so. Brain 2 EP, the voice almost knocked me out. 6 hours is light work. Well, light work for you, because you have so much stamina. I don't have as much, unfortunately. Let's see. You think that they would continue to do art? I feel really bad. Oh, unfortunately, they do have followers only chat. I don't want to force people to follow just to say hi. So, unfortunately, as lovely as Jude is, if you do like their content, please be sure to check them out, of course. She looks wonderful, or they look wonderful, and their art is simply breathtaking. Look at that line art. Amazing. Alright. don't know if I want to raid out to ASMR if I'm not doing ASMR myself. So I might have to say no to that. Alright, looks like we shall say hello to Zmakotas with his cute little panda above his head and his questionable hair, but I feel very rude to talk about his hair, so we will talk about his hair. But he is playing Repo with friends. That might be fun for you all, since you all know each other, right? Kind of? Do you have mutuals with each other? Yes? Thank you, by the way, Godzilla and Eggers, for mentioning your two friends to me. I really do appreciate it. It looks like we shall go see Makotas. Hope you don't mind. Let's start the raid message, shall we? What should we say? Didn't even get looked at? What? Nico, what do you mean? Oh, Awesomey. Oh, hold on. You mean Awesomey is a person? I see. Let me look right now. Forgive me for that, and thank you for reminding me. We shall take a look at Awesomey before we make a decision, of course. Oh, looks like they're playing Infinity Nikki. This game does have my heart. Oh no. What shall I do? I don't know who to choose. They also look very adorable, by the way. With the little purple tuff. So adorable. Are they a bird? Judging by their bio information, I think they might be. Burb. Yes. I think they are a burb. Infinity Slay. To me as a Twitch person, yes. That's why I chose them as the I see. You know what I like. Infinity Nikki is my weakness. They are a melting bird to my understanding. I don't know why they are melting. They also do art and made it. Amazing. Wow. Oh no. That's unfortunate. I'm really weak to Infinity Nikki. Oh, Senpi. Thank you for suggesting they make Mako. Unfortunately, Infinity Nikki has my heart, and this wonderful bird is also very adorable, and I would like to know them a little bit more. Their style is very unique. Indeed, we do, don't we? Okay. Should we just say Velvet Raid? What do you think? I can't figure out what I like. What should I say for my raid, for our raid message? A velvety raid? Little play on my name, maybe? Let's go with that, right? A velvety raid. I like that. Let's put some... Ooh. I want a red heart. How do I do a red heart? Is there a red heart available? There's only purple for me. Hmm. How do we do a heart? Can we do a red heart? No, we can't. Alright, it's alright. We'll do the purple heart. Let's do that, shall we? Purple heart. And thanks for the stream. Hope you get some good rest and eat something if you haven't. Thank you, Godzilla. Don't you worry. It is too late for me to eat, but I have eaten. Thank you. Yeah. Well, Mako, thank you for recommending Awesome. Indeed, they are definitely awesome. Snacks? Yes, snacks are great. I do have grapes on the side, but I didn't want to eat and talk at the same time. I find that very rude. So maybe I'll enjoy these grapes in a bit. Alright. Start this raid for Asami. A wonderful bird. They seem so wonderful. Alright. Remember now to put down a raid message so that your chat will count as a viewer. We all know that Twitch hates lurkers if they don't talk, unfortunately. So I will need you all to copy and paste that raid message on Asami's chat. Understood? Can you do that for me? Right. Good night, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful time with me and also a wonderful time enjoying our visual novel. I hope to see you again. If you like Asami's content, be sure to drop a follow and make sure to give them plenty of support. I'll see you soon. Goodbye and good night. Have a wonderful day.